National Signing Day. Our phone lines are open at 903-509-TALK, 825-903-845-9993. We just finished talking to one of the top East Texas players, Dylan Cantrell, who's headed to Texas Tech. And right now we're going to talk to a guy who I think he sleeps about 3 hours a week so he can follow this stuff. And he's got a brain that absorbs it and never forgets anything. I don't know how he does it, but I'm glad it's him and not me.
Yeah.
With us right now from ETSN.FM, of course, our old buddy, Gabe Brooks. How you doing, Gabe?
What's going on, y'all? Glad to be here.
Nice to have you here. Been a while. What's going on with you?
Busy.
Are you?
Like you said, I'm not getting a whole lot of sleep. Last week I even had to work some while I had the flu.
That's just wrong.
Yeah.
That's just wrong. Well, I'm sorry.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I understand. Well, I'm glad I hope you're feeling better anyway.
I'm getting better. I still pretty much have a cold, but I'm over all the flu stuff.
Have you gotten your appetite back?
Oh yeah, I never had a stomach issue with it, so that's
okay, good.
Good. That's the good thing.
Okay, well, fair enough then. All right, National Signing Day is tomorrow. Any surprises that we need to look for tomorrow?
Well, the big thing around here is John Tyler, wide receiver Fred Ross, who has been committed to Oklahoma State since last February, but recently took an official visit to Mississippi State. He has a cousin, I believe, who is on the women's basketball coaching staff there, and a lot of people are making that connection, thinking he may end up there. But there's a lot of speculation right now. Brandon Marcello from the Clarion Ledger in Mississippi, he just tweeted a minute ago that Ross is expected to decide tonight and then make his announcement during the signing day ceremony tomorrow. So we don't often have drama. We rarely have signing day drama in East Texas because a lot of the kids are usually pretty set in their commitments. But Fred Ross looking like he may provide the drama this year. Boy, that is an about face too, because he's been a solid Oklahoma State commit for a long time now. Yeah, he has, and his teammate Tyus Bowser, who was our defensive player of the year with 24 sacks, he committed to Oklahoma State recently, and then shortly after that decommitted, and it's kind of up in the air as to what he's going to do. He wants to play both sports, football and basketball. He has a basketball offer to Oral Roberts, but he wants to play both sports wherever he goes. The thing is that the college level, especially football, if you're viewed as a player who's going to be a better football prospect than basketball, which is how he is viewed, then the coaches don't really like putting up with guys who think that they're going to be playing both sports their whole career. Understandably,
what exactly happened there with him in Oklahoma State? Because it looked like he was all set to go there, and it looked like they wanted him. Did they change their mind, or?
I don't think so. I mean, there's not. I honestly don't have much of a clue as to what's going on there.
Okay.
I just know Tyus's whole recruitment has been kind of a mystery, and the basketball thing is a big part of that. I mean, he has a bunch of offers from Big 12 schools. You got West Virginia, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. He has a Missouri offer from the SEC. So there are a lot of schools who want him, but the thing is that they don't want him as a football player.
Sure.
And he's real, I think in his heart of hearts, he's a basketball guy.
Okay.
But I also think, and this is just speculating, but I also think he knows that, his ticket may be football. And that's how the vast majority of guys who are two-sport guys like that in high school, it's a lot easier to be a high-major football player than it is a high-major basketball player, just from a numbers standpoint. And you can get 6'3", 225 and turn that into a big-time college football player. You have a tough time making a 6'3", 225-pound forward a high-major basketball player.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, he's going to have to play guard. He's not tall enough to play on the front line in college.
No, and that's the thing is that if he was to play basketball, that he would have to change positions, obviously, and be a backcourt player.
Yeah, and that's not his game, I don't think, is it?
No, it's not really. It's not. He is more of a front court, kind of a power kind of a player. You know, he's been playing AAU ball in the past, and I think that, that once the AAU thing gets a hold of you, the basketball fever, you kind of catch it pretty good. And, I don't blame him. I mean, if that's what you like, that's what you like.
Sure.
But at the same time, that's the hard part. That goes back to the whole thing of recruiting, is that you've got 17, 18-year-olds deciding something that's going to impact them the rest of their life. And they have so many people from so many different directions trying to tell them what to do. And at some point, you just have to tell them to do what they want to do, regardless of what, if what they want to do is going to make them happy, then, I guess it's not as important to think, well, hey, maybe down the line I can become a pro in football. But, it's a lot of pressure to put on a teenager.
Sure. Boy, it's a shame, though, because he is such a disruptive force in football. I mean, I can't imagine him not being a really, really good football player.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that I think he realizes that, and I know, Rickland Holmes, head coach John Tyler, he's an Oklahoma State alum, but I don't know if he's pressuring these guys to go to Oklahoma State. I know that he knows that Tyus is a great football player.
Oh, he is.
And that his better chance at a successful career in sports is with football. And, personally, I think Tyus could be a pretty incredible outside linebacker, because he plays really well in space. You see 24 sacks, and the reason for that is that his speed off the edge he's virtually unblockable at the high school level. And, some of the knocks on him that I'd heard in the past was that, well, he's not as good against the run. He's not quite as physical against the run and stuff. Well, I mean, if that's the case, then why not put him out there and let him play in space on the outside?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Isaiah Golden has been committed for a long time to Texas A&M. No change of mind there?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty set. I'm going to be there in the morning, since he's number one on our ETSN 25 recruiting rankings. He's been number one since I came out with that in August. He is the consensus number one player in East Texas this year. If you look at, Scout.com, 24/7 Sports, and Rivals, and all the major recruiting outlets, Isaiah is the number one player in East Texas. And, the reason for that is you can't coach 6'2.5", 315, and especially someone who has run, I think, like a 4.89 at 320 pounds.
Man.
So, I mean, when you've got that, and his wingspan is incredible, his hands are enormous. He's got an incredible explosion. He plays with a good pad level. Everything that you want in a defensive tackle, that's what he is. A&M, everybody was saying, well, how are they going to be able to recruit with SEC? They're going to need to get certain kinds of players to play and compete up front, especially in the SEC. Him and Justin Manning from Dallas Kimball, these are SEC defensive tackles.
Yeah.
And if you look at it at the SEC, what separates the SEC from conferences like the Pac-12 or the Big 12, there are a lot of good D linemen in those other conferences, but the majority of them are on the edge. Every team in the SEC just about has one of those guys inside. I mean, Mississippi State is in Fletcher Cox, and Auburn has had Nick Fairley, and it's not just Alabama and LSU, getting the big time out at Mississippi State. Auburn, Georgia has John Jenkins. Florida has a slew of guys all the time like that. So every team in the SEC is, not only are they good on the edge, they have, borderline not human beings playing the interior of their defensive line, and that's what guys like Golden and Justin Manning are.
Anybody else out there that we haven't mentioned that this is going to go high major D1?
Yeah, one guy. Speaking of Oklahoma State, a guy I'm very high on. I have him ranked, I think, third in our ETSN 25 is Corian Webster from Atlanta, a tailback. Some of the other recruiting rankings have him lower than Tyus Bowser or Dylan Cantrell from White House, the receiver going to Texas Tech. Corian Webster's the best back I've seen in East Texas the last 2 years. He's about 5'11", 6 feet, 190, and he has an extra gear when he gets the seam. I've seen him 3 times against Gilmer in the last 3 seasons, and he has run for, in those 3 games, more than 500 yards and has run away from Gilmer's DBs. And not a lot of guys can run away from Gilmer's DBs.
No.
So he's a guy to look for. Dylan Cantrell is solid at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Texas Tech has a junior day coming up this weekend, and just based on the Twitter scouring I've done, it looks like Patrick Mahomes, Willie Ivory from Sulphur Springs, and maybe Katie Cannon from Mount Pleasant. Those are 3 big-time guys in next year's East Texas recruiting class that may be all attending that junior day at Texas Tech. But next year's a whole different animal. There are good players in this year's class. Next year
loaded.
It's going to be the best class probably since 2007 with Ryan Mallett, Lennon Creer, Michael Huey, Denarius Moore, all those guys.
Is Mahomes at the top of that list?
Mahomes is up there. Davion Hall from Liberty Ilo, who committed this past weekend to Baylor while he was on a junior day visit. He and Katie Cannon, I think, are the early consensus guys at the top. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is going to climb the list. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I saw in East Texas last year, and there are a lot of good ones around here. And there are a lot of good ones, and he's the best one I saw in East Texas. Let's see, Reggie Long is a guy from White House to look out for, a linebacker. White House has a lot of guys. Jake Parker has an LSU junior day invitation, and then there's a couple schools like Longview and Carthage that are the same way, that just have boatloads of talented juniors. Zaycoven Henderson is one of my favorite players in East Texas. I noticed him back in October. I thought he was going to be an animal. He has Oklahoma and Baylor offers already. He's 6'2", 290 defensive tackle. They also have Dorian Leonard, who's a 6'4" receiver who has an Oklahoma offer already. A lot of people are comparing him to Malcolm Kelly. So,
wow.
Pretty good when you're being compared to Malcolm Kelly.
Yeah.
Jordan Whitaker is another wide receiver, tight end type for them who's going to be good in that class. And Carthage has Adrian Goodacre, 6'4", 310, offensive guard. Blake Bogenschutz, 6'1", 185 quarterback. They have 2 receivers, that T. Gorey and O'Kieran Rutherford, 6'2" and 6'5", respectively. And then Tevin Pipkin, who I think a lot of people think may be the best of the bunch, and it's almost like he gets lost in the shuffle. And he's a guy that may be an all-purpose back at the D1 level, or could be a cornerback, could move to the defensive side of the ball.
Looks like Stephen F. Austin did a pretty good job here in East Texas this year, getting Monster Brown,
Justice Liggins.
Yeah, from John Tyler. I mean, that's pretty nice players they picked up.
Those are 2 of the guys, I think, in the 2013 class who are maybe the most under-recruited guys in East Texas. Monster for sure. Patrick Brown, as he's probably known outside the region, Monster to everybody who knows him. He is 5'10", 170, 175. I have no idea why he would not get offers from TCU and Baylor and programs like that.
And let me just throw out, he was the Henderson quarterback. How are they going to use him?
He's going to play offense. He visited Sam Houston State, and they wanted him to play safety.
Yeah.
And I think he really likes Sam Houston State, and then he went to SFA, and they told him he could play offense.
So where, though?
He'll be a slot receiver.
Okay.
Receiver's his natural position on offense. He was a athlete type for Henderson because they had to move him to quarterback in the second half of the 2012 season. But he's a receiver and a return guy. That's what he's maybe most known for. He's returned 9 punts for touchdowns in the last 2 years.
Jeez.
And, I mean, he is electric when you punt him the ball. So I think that he has been seriously under-recruited. He had a ULM offer. I think New Mexico State. You had a couple of FBS programs, but he just seems like a guy that could get in that spread like Baylor runs and just rip people playing the inside receiver spot. I mean, Kendall Wright is a similar size coming out of high school, and you saw what he did at Baylor. He ended up being a first-round draft pick. So, Jeremy Curley is a guy that went to TCU as NFL now that's kind of the same, similar size as Monster is. And I think Monster is more comparable to those kind of players than maybe your average Southland Conference recruit. Justice Liggins is another one that I thought was very under-recruited. Legit 6'1", 190, 195, big receiver, physical, but also pretty athletic. And his teammate, Darian Flowers, who another receiver for John Tyler, who has yet to announce his commitment. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. He's another one that I thought was under-recruited.
All right, and then looking at it from the college standpoint, people all wanting to know how their favorite teams are doing. Who's dominated? I mean, as far as the state of Texas is concerned, I guess A&M is going to be the winner of the state championship in recruiting this year?
It's looking like it. A&M is, Johnny Football and Kevin Sumlin, the swagger copter, as they're calling it, that Sumlin has flown in to watch a couple of recruits. That carries a lot of weight. And, you've seen that's interesting that A&M has had such a huge push, not only statewide, but here around East Texas. If you follow these kids on Twitter, if you talk to them, A&M, the buzz around A&M is just incredible. And
SEC, baby.
And the SEC thing, that's part of it. And something that I've always thought was interesting, when they were really good in the 90s, Slocum always recruited East Texas, Lufkin, Jacksonville, all around there.
Yep.
Francione kind of got away from it. Sherman didn't really recruit it much. And now someone's back in, and he flipped Ed Pope at the last minute last year from TCU to Texas A&M. He's got Isaiah Golden, another Carthage kid, going to A&M. He's got Josh Walker, a 2014 linebacker from Gilmer, who's going to be one of the top players in the region next year. He's already committed to A&M, and everybody's talking about A&M. Katie Cannon, and Katie Cannon from Mount Pleasant he likes getting on Twitter and trying to make different fan bases think that he's leaning that way. He likes toying with everybody, but Texas is one that's hurting here late in the process. Andrew Billings just announced this afternoon, a big defensive tackle, that he had chosen Baylor over Texas and DCU, and Baylor is another one that is riding some momentum with him, and they flipped a guy from Tech yesterday, and Baylor is riding momentum. A&M is at the top in the state right now, and Texas, it looks like, may have I think like a 15-player signing class, which
wow,
is going to be their lowest in a good while. So Texas is reeling.
That's it's interesting. It's especially with all this going on right now with Applewhite, and it looks like they're going to get into a little political peeing contest in Austin right now over that. It's kind of interesting to see. Mac better have a big year next year.
Yeah,
a big year.
And the thing is that so much of it, I think, has become with social media and all that entails, and you see, like I said, with the Swagger Copter with A&M and everything like that they have going for them. Once the tide is turned a certain way, it's really hard to get that kind of grassroots, excitement out of the kids from across the region or the state that you're looking for. And Texas is always, the last decade, Texas has just been able to say, "Hey, we're Texas,
right? And
we offer you." So that means
you're coming.
Why would you even consider anywhere else? So, and it doesn't look like they can do that anymore. So, USC is another one. They have like 11 commitments.
Wow.
They've had them decommitting left and right. So it's kind of interesting to see those two programs who are usually do whatever they want are having much success here in the late stages.
Taking on water. It's interesting. All right, so what's your day like tomorrow? You'll be at Carthage first thing?
I'll be at Carthage, 8:30. Isaiah Golden is the main one. Lane Pierce is going to be signing with, I believe, Washita Baptist, defensive end for them. Then 10 o'clock, Tatum. They're going to have a few kids signed. Tristan Durden's going to be signed with Grambling State. Keanu Lucas with Southern Arkansas. A couple other players. And then I'm going to be at Longview at 11:30. And they have a whole bunch of guys signing. Bivens Caraway, ULM.
Yeah.
They have some guys going to A&M Commerce, Justin Spady and Corey Bartley. And Bartley is, golly, you talk about somebody who, if he was 5 inches taller or 3 inches taller even, and 40 pounds heavier, he'd be headed somewhere big. He's about 5'7", 155, 160, and I like to call him Pocket Hercules. He is as hard a hitter as there is in East Texas, and he had 7 interceptions and forced some fumbles and broke up 21 passes and blocked 5 kicks. I mean, he was all over the place for Longview.
Lathan's another guy that I would think would be the same kind of a player if he's just a little bit bigger, huh?
Yeah, Lathan, he's about 5'9", 190, 195,
wow.
And, he...
State Player of the Year last year.
Yeah, last year was consensus 5A Defensive Player of the Year, and he and Torian Shepard, another Longview linebacker, and Caden Farrell, who's played some running back, safety, linebacker, kind of all over the place for Hallsville, those 3 are going to be signing with Tarleton State. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Those are 3 good players who are, you look at them and they're undersized, but they'll be productive D2 players. And, you mentioned SFA having a good time around here this year. Texas A&M Commerce has been getting commitments from left and right.
That's crazy.
From East Texas kids. And
have they seen Commerce?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Wow.
They have a new coach there, and then, I kind of think I don't know a lot about the program, but I think that I know in years past there has not been a whole lot of A&M Commerce commitments, less than you would think.
Yeah.
There have been some, but they're less than you'd think being that close to this area, but there's a bunch this year.
Very interesting. Well, Gabe, hope you have a great day tomorrow. Hope you get your strength back so you can handle the load tomorrow. I know you're going to be busy, but we do appreciate you coming on with us and filling us in on this all off the top of your head. You're incredible.
Well, anytime. I appreciate it. I got to get ready for basketball now.
Oh, good. Well, who are you seeing tonight?
Marshall and Pine Tree. My old stomping grounds.
Oh, okay.
PT.
Yeah, you'll have a good time tonight then.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you again, and be sure and check out etsn.fm for all the latest on the East Texas recruiting scene. Thanks a lot, Gabe. Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, buddy. Take care. Gabe Brooks on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM. I don't know how he does that.
He's just got that photographic memory.
Like this New York phone book of a mind.
I can barely remember where we are now.
Where are we?
What are we?
Is it time to go home
I'm
yet?
talking into a tube. What's this all
that's
about?
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
All right, time out. Back with more in just a moment on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live.